Hi, this is golf instructor Steve Bishop, and I just want to do a quick little demonstration of why it's so important to have the correct left-hand grip on the club here. And the difference is basically, as presented to me in a question here, as to why we want the left hand to have that left thumb on the side of the shaft and not directly on top. And this is going into a little bit more explanation than just what I do in my taking the grip video. But as you can see, this is just my left hand on the club, and this is where my left thumb is directly on top of the shaft. Now ideally, we should be actually positioning the thumb just slightly off to the side. Okay? And if we take a good look here, if you take a look on the face-on view, you can see that my left thumb is off to the side, not directly on top of the shaft, just a little bit off to the side. And we're going to go into a little bit more explanation about why that is. But if you can just imagine here, one of the reasons why we want this is because there is basically a weak point here in your left hand, where if the club wants to come out, there is nothing to prevent it from coming out of that. That's the weakest part of your grip on the club. Because if we tried to basically take the club out in this direction, it's going to make your hand move. But when it comes this direction, it comes directly out. So we can basically apply pressure. We can apply pressure going back quite easily with the left hand. The left hand easily makes the club move back in this direction. But when we try to make the club move in this direction, we don't have nearly the amount of pressure points on the club to make it move this direction. We don't have anything basically pushing this direction to make it move. We do have to make it go back. So by moving this left thumb over to the side, what that does is it basically closes a little bit of this gap here that we have. If it's on top, you notice that you see a lot more of the grip. But when you move it off to the side, now we have a pressure point here, pressure point here, pressure point here, one underneath, and now one on the side. That basically helps to kind of close this gap that we have here and allows us to make much more of a backhanded motion with the left hand. If we don't, then we're forced to rotate the left hand like this. That's why the left hand being strong feels so good, is because now we have more leverage on the back side of the shaft. You notice that when I rotate my hand like this, now I have much more of, you can see much less of the grip. You see much more of the left thumb basically adding pressure to it, and the padding of the left thumb also still basically covering up that grip. But when I rotate it to be neutral, you'll see much more of the grip and less of my hand. So that's why it's so important that if you're going to take a neutral grip, that you move that left thumb off to the side. Okay? And again, that's basically because there's no pressure that we can add on the club going this direction. Okay? The only thing we can do, if I just had an open hand here, like this, the only direction that I can apply pressure with the left hand is this way. Because if I try to pull with the left hand, I don't really have anything on this side. The only thing I can possibly do is put my right hand on it to push. Okay? So that's why it always feels a little bit stronger. That's why a lot of folks believe that you need to apply pressure with the right hand and that adds power, while supposedly the left hand adds direction control. Well, it's not entirely accurate, because you have to have both hands on there. But if the left hand doesn't have any pressure points on the back side of this, then it is going to rely more heavily on what the right hand is doing. So it's really important if you're going to have a swing, and a swinger's swing basically relies much more on the left arm, just basically rotating around the left shoulder socket. Okay, whereas a hitter is basically using much more of the right arm, the right elbow here, all the way down to the arm here. Basically is making this one last move here that's the power source, and using the right shoulder, the right elbow, and then finally the right wrist to make that last bit of push on the club, which then makes the club go a little bit more powerful. But the problem is that we're trying to create speed, and speed needs to be created with the longest lever possible. Okay, speed is not created by the shortest lever, it's created by the longest lever. And the longest lever in the golf swing is actually from the left shoulder down to the club head. So if you're looking to create speed, club head speed, you need to be trying to increase the amount that left shoulder basically, or the club rotates around the left shoulder. And the only way you're going to make that happen is if you use both your left and your right hand with a right amount of pressure points on the back side of the shaft, so that both the left hand and the right hand are adding pressure going forward.